I recovered from serious social anxiety for 18 years of my life to achieve social confidence to speak to literally anyone that I want. That's why in this video, I'll give you the exact step-by-step breakdown of what was good and what was bad for this interaction. And obviously, we're not trying to diss any individuals here. We just want to see how we can improve because it's the most important thing when it comes to increasing your social skills.
Good, nice to meet you, Bismarck.
Well, you say you're working here, right?
Yeah.
How long you been doing this?
I've been doing this since August of 2020.
Okay, so what made you get into the jewelry selling business?
So I actually used to live in New York and I had a perfect job. And in Manhattan, there's like a lot of like up and coming designers. And I was always in the fashion industry. I interned for Versace.
Oh
So I
wow.
would always just be curious and I would be like, okay, how are people doing this? Because there would be a lot of street fairs in New York. There's like a lot of them. And I finally went up to someone and I'm like, how are you here? Like, what did you do to be here? And she's like, all you have to do is get your street vendor license and then find vendors and you can resell. And I
So
looked into it and that's how I did it.
what made you move from New York to here though?
The weather, I love the weather.
Oh, okay. So how long you been in Miami?
I've been here since 2017.
Okay. And you prefer it more than New York?
I love the weather here. I love New York. When it comes to business, New York is like somewhere where you're going to grow faster. But I really just love the weather. I'm all about the weather and like work-life balance. And I feel like Miami, you can have so much fun.
Mm.
So yeah, but
So
I think eventually I might have to go back just because business is faster in New York.
okay.
Yeah.
So I'm somebody new here. I'm just trying to figure out what to do for fun. Like what since you've been here so long, what do you usually do for fun?
But what do you like to do for fun?
I'm more of the adventure type, right? I like to do just fun activities.
Alright, the first thing is that his body language is too close. He should have been more open. You see how here he's very closed in. And even though he looks kind of big and kind of bulky, but he doesn't really show that he's really interested in the girl, right? Because if you kind of think about it, the most important thing in terms of communication is body language. Like for example, if I was sitting like this, you wouldn't really listen to me. But the reason why I'm still here is because I'm sitting up straight. That's why you're actually listening to me. Thus, body language is such an important component. And you may be asking like, okay, bro, that's kind of nice. But what exactly can I do to have great body language? I'm not going to tell you some wishy-washy advice like most social skills coaches do. I'm going to give you actual, tangible, actionable steps to do right now. So this is what you can do. You can go to the gym and train your muscles that specifically, right, help you improve your posture. This is very important because if you have good posture, you just feel more confident. Because if your chest up, shoulders wide, neck up, you've heard that advice millions of times and it didn't really like help you a single bit. So here's the two exercises which I use. I find it so great. Face pulls, external seated shoulder rotations. Just those two exercises, right, will just increase your posture. How do you do face pulls? There's like billions of videos on YouTube. But I'll just link like two videos which I find are the best, like out of the rest I've ever found. So basically what you do is you just hold the bar and just pull it there. Just do this and you make sure you pull it all of the way. As for shoulder seated external rotations, just basically like imagine this is my leg, okay? This is the top of my knee, and you just do this. And if you just do those for like once a week, your social skills and in terms of body language will just increase exponentially. Because you essentially, right, have become this individual who is able to stand up straight. And when you stand up straight, girls actually respect you. And when they expect you, they will like you more. The second thing which he could improve on is that he didn't give enough personal input. Like you see how here, like no offense to this man, but he's asking too many questions, right? Like he's asking question after question after question after question. And if you keep ending up in this state where you just ask like insane amount of questions. Like imagine I was here, right? And I wasn't speaking, and I was just asking you like, "Oh, bro, how's your day going?" And you're like, "Good." I'm like, "Okay, that's kind of nice." "Oh, how many pets do you have?" "Oh, I have 4." "Oh, that's kind of nice." "Well, do you have a girlfriend?" And you're probably thinking like, "Bro, like screw off, man! Like you've asking me too many questions." It's the same thing here. The good thing about this guy is that he's jacked, so it gives him an advantage. But in terms of a normal situation, the guy's asking too many questions. And I think it's alright if you want to genuinely know the other individual. But the way you should go about it is if you ask a question, right, and they give a response, you should add on to the response. Because if we just understand how all conversations are made, it's made through value. It's inherently all value. Like you will not go into a conversation if that conversation does not have a single bit of value. And that's the case. Because the only reason why we want to connect with others It's tone benefit. Like that's the most thing. Because if we connect with them, we feel happier, we feel more social, we feel more energized. And that's the main reason. So in order to overcome this, do not think like an A interviewer. Don't be this guy who just constantly asking questions. You want to be this guy who's giving out observations, compliments, and assumptions. How do I do this? I'll show you right now. So let's say if you don't really know what to say and they just gave you a response, like for example, for this question, oh, bro, how's your day going? Yeah, bro, it's kind of good. I kind of woke up and yeah, I'm just going to work. Instead of just saying, all right, that's kind of cool. How's your work going? Like most people. Instead, you could add on to the statement like this. Oh, wow, that sounds pretty damn interesting. Like you go to work and you can like observe what he's wearing, right? And this is where you give a assumption. Oh, I like you're wearing like a businessman suit and stuff. I'm assuming you're working in business, yeah? You see how here is a assumption. And this is great because it's not a question. So it doesn't force the man to respond, which is super powerful. Or you could do this, or you could go with an observation. Let's say you have nothing else to say. In the exact same situation, you just say this. You look at what he's wearing, right? And you just say, oh bro, I like your blue shirt. Because you're complimenting his shirt, right? And you're giving an observation, you're stating what it is. As for a compliment, right? It needs to come from the heart. Be as genuine as possible. And just like this, like, I like your blank. Like, oh, bro, I like your bag. Bro, I like your shirt. Bro, I like your tie. I like your necklace. And it's these things which seem so small, right? But if you implement them within interactions, it can be insanely powerful. There's one more thing. Just nodding your head or just saying like, okay, cool, like nice, does not give you the opportunity to just keep using that as every single statement. Obviously, you could say that, but again, you need to say that and add on your own input to the conversation because that's how a conversation should be. It shouldn't be just like one-sided where the other individual says everything. Because if you are a stranger and you're approaching a girl and you're expecting the girl to like give you the whole entire response without you showing any form of like who exactly you are. First of all, they're not really gonna trust you, right? Like imagine if I was here, right, and I was trying to sell you like some real sus candy, and it's like, oh, you want some candy, bro? Like you wouldn't trust me. But if I was here, right, and I just said like who exactly I am and I shared about my story and stuff, you will be more likely to trust me. And so that's so important to like understand that you need to give your own input in conversations. That's how to go about it. It's not some like ultra magical shit. It's just adding your own input. And you're probably asking like, okay, that's kind of nice, but how do I add my own input? Just trust me, right, when I say this, just blurt out the first thing you think about in your brain. It sounds so like counterintuitive and like you're probably wondering why I didn't come up with like some witty statements or say like you have to think about it throughout. It's because it's supposed to be fun. Right? In the conversation, you don't want to be this logical guy saying that, oh, they said this, so I must say this, and I must say this, I must say this, because it's not going to work. You want it to be free flowing, so that's what you should do. There was no flirting within the first 30 seconds of the interaction. And you're probably asking why is this so important? Because, first of all, like the girl is stupid. Like when you speak to her, she knows exactly what you want. Right? Because it's very rare that a girl gets approached by a guy. It's super rare. So whenever they get approached, I guarantee you, right, they're most probably going on the defensive because it's a very rare occurrence. Like only 1% of people do this. And when you do it right, you have to show your intent as early as possible. Because if you show evidence of why you're here, they're more likely to trust you. Right? It's like, for example, right, you did like some wrong shit, and someone asks you, so what do you do? And you just say it out. The other person understands you more. So it's the same thing here. If we go into a conversation, right, and we literally just within the first 30 seconds, we just say something along the lines like, yeah, I was just walking around and I thought you were really cute, so I wanted to say what's up. It's these subtle things which, again, it needs balls. Like, it's not easy, bro. But it elevates the conversation to a whole new level. And that really makes or breaks the conversation because especially when you're speaking to a girl, you don't want the conversation to be platonic, right? Because that's not the reason why you're co-approaching a girl. Like that's not the reason, right? You want to do it in like an actual masculine way. So in order to do it, we need to set the correct dynamic, which is the man to woman dynamic. And when you can set that dynamic right by showing intent, like showing that you're actually interested in the girl, which is important because if you don't show it, the girl's gonna be thinking like, all right, like why is he kind of stalling and I don't really know what to do. Therefore, it's important to show intent. And you're probably asking like, okay, great. How do you show intent? To show intent, it's pretty simple. Just right, say this one line, it always works. Hey, excuse me, I just saw you like walking past and I thought you were pretty cute and I just wanted to say what's up. Or even can say this. Hey, excuse me, I just wanted to say I really like your look. I know it doesn't seem like so powerful, and you're probably wondering like, why didn't I say that? Wow, you're so beautiful. Wow, you're so gorgeous. Wow, you're on cloud nine. It's because you don't want to over personalize the girl. Because the truth of the matter is right that if you want to approach a girl and you want to do it successfully, you cannot be this needy guy, right? Like, you can't be the guy always like saying that, oh, I gotta get that girl, man. I gotta do it. If you don't do it, I'm like a piece of shit. Like, it doesn't work. You gotta set the standard, right? And set the tone that you are the man. And that's so important. Because if you don't set the standard that you are the man, she's not really gonna respect you. So you don't want your flirt to be too aggressive. You don't want it to be like over the top, like, wow, I saw you were so beautiful and shit. I know you have watched like media and movies and shit, like, wow, you're so beautiful, man. I gotta take you out, wow, I gotta buy you a drink. It doesn't work, right? Like, you can ask any nice guy. I was there myself too. It doesn't work. So yeah, in the future, right, when you go into interactions, if you're speaking to a girl, you gotta flirt as early as possible. Just adding that simple line, hey, excuse me, I just saw you walking by, and I just wanted to say that I really like your look. One more thing which I think is super important to add on to that previous point is the importance of maintaining frame. You're probably thinking like, okay, what's frame? Frame is how you view the interaction because there's only two frames you can be. You can either be in the girl's frame or your frame. And obviously, right, if you know about stoicism, we should control what we can control. Therefore, we should try to implement our frame within the interaction. And what should the right frame be? The right frame, right? This is like Van's flowing technique. The right frame should be this. I am the hot shit, right? And she's gonna like me. And you're probably thinking like, well, this is kind of delusional and shit, and like, it doesn't really work. I'll tell you why it works. Because, like, if you think about the recent successes you had or the recent achievements you had, I guarantee you, right, it's because you had this belief in yourself saying like, wow, I'm so amazing. Yeah, I'm gonna ace that test. Yeah, I'm gonna do it, man. Yeah, I'm gonna work out. Yes, I'm gonna do those push-ups, man. Yes, man, yes. And this is powerful because it's a self-reinforcing belief. And when you can have this belief, right, like all of the time, like you should see me, bro. Like, I'm not lying when I say this. I walk around, right, and I literally openly, right, I openly say in public like this, like, I am the man. I am hot as shit. I am the guy which can get any girl. And this is very important because if you reframe your mindset, right, to believing in it, and obviously you still gotta do the hard work, but if you have the right mindset of truly believing, right, that you are the hot dude, that you are the guy who can get any girl that he wants if he genuinely tries, it's very, very powerful. And you might be thinking like, okay, but this kind of sounds a bit degenerate, but it's not degenerate. If you just are open, right, and you're not doing anything wrong, and you just want to be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to be the best version of myself. I'm going to be the guy which can provide. I'm going to be the guy which can protect her in terms of need. I'm going to be the guy which helps her in every single way ever possible. How's the degenerate, bro? Right? So it's very important to maintain your frame because girls will test you. They'll shit test you, bro. Like if you have like a frame, right, saying that, I'm a masculine man, I'm gonna get the girl, she likes me, she likes me, she likes me. And her frame, right, it would be probably the opposite because it's very rare that girls have the exact same frame, like, wow, I like him, wow, I like him. Normally it's like this. I'm gonna test him. I'm gonna see if it's worthy. Right? Because girls have options. And they will subtly test you. Like they will say things, right, which are out of the norm. Like they even might come out with this. Oh, I have a boyfriend. It still might be a test, bro. Like, seriously. Like, I had one friend, right? He told me, like, he's recently, right? He was doing cold approaches using my method because I was, like, coaching him and stuff. And he was telling me this. He was like, bro, there was one instant, right, where I was speaking to a girl and she told me that, oh, I have a boyfriend. And he was like, hey, me too. It was hilarious, bro. And because of that, the girl was laughing. And the conversation just went on. So girls will test you. But what's so important is you remain the frame of, I'm the hot shit. And you're probably wondering like, well, but I don't feel confident, well, I don't think I'm doing the right things. And I'll tell you this right now. The way to think that you're the hot shit, right, is obviously every day you still gotta be doing the right things, right? Like you gotta be working out, you gotta be eating clean, you gotta be working on something meaningful, showing appreciation, gratitude, meditation, journaling. socializing, being an actual good person, not being a dick. And I can't emphasize how important this is because the often issue is people just ask you to believe that you are a certain somebody without doing the right actions. But if you're doing all the right actions on a daily basis, you're always working hard, you're always trying to be the best, I believe that the gods will give you what you want. Because it's cause and effect. If you're every single day you're trying to be the best, confidence comes. Like confidence doesn't come from like nothing, bro. It like comes from like the effort. So that's super important to understand that. The fourth thing which you could improve on is physical contact. Physical contact is key for like all interactions because if you don't have physical contact, it shows that you're not very confident. Because if you think back to the caveman era, how did they socialize? They socialize through having enough physical contact, right? You see everyone like hugging each other and shit. Like, bro, like you probably saw the kids, right? Or like hugging like the mom's legs every single day, right? And the reason why they were so social and they were so happy and so fulfilled and they weren't lonely is because they had enough physical contact. And physical contact should ideally be made as early on in the interaction as possible. Like I'll tell you this, okay? Like I co-approached like it was yesterday. It was crazy, man. it was this was hilarious. I was out right doing some work right, and I was like busy and shit, and and I saw this girl right, like this cute like holy shit like cute ass girl, and she was with like her friend. There was like a child like right there, and I was wondering like how on earth is this like formation? Like it was like this, okay? And there was one girl here, like they were both blondes. Two blonded like hot chicks. There was like one girl here, and there was like a child there. The child was like a girl as well. And I was like wondering like what on earth is happening? Right. And the first thing I did, right, is when I went up to her, right, and I saw her, right, and I was like, bro, what's up? And I literally was like, oh, cause she was like waving like the Singapore flag. She like there was like 3 Singapore flags and she stacked all of them together. And I was like, that's cool, bro. And I went up to her and I was like, bro, that's cool, man. Fist bump. Physical contact broken. And this is important because they trust you more. And because they trust you more, they're more likely to speak to you. And physical escalation is very important if you want to attract a girl. Because if you don't have physical escalation, you don't really get so much of an intimate attraction towards the girl. Right? Like, imagine, right, if I was speaking to you, right, and I had no physical contact and my hands were like behind my back, it just doesn't really work out. The reason why people, right, especially those who, if you realize, right, the dudes, right, who have like super great relationships, is because they have an insane amount of physical contact. And it's so important because I think we have this like taboo which says like, oh no, it's so bad to be physical and stuff because of like the news and there's like these people which act inappropriately and they don't really know what they're doing. And I'll say the most important thing is this. You need to have the basic respect, right? Like, I think it's common sense, right? Like, when you speak to people, right, you don't just go in and like for a hug right away if you don't know the individual. You start off with baby steps. Because if you want to escalate with like a goal, right, a physical escalation, right, you don't start off with like, oh, you know what, I gotta like hug her and shit. Like, it doesn't work, bro. Right? It doesn't work. Like, it starts off with like the small things, like, you know, like meeting her and shit, and like getting her name and like fist bump. Next thing will be like, you know, going closer to her, like one step closer. And afterwards, you'll be moving your hands more, maybe like accidentally like scraping the hands, you know? Physical contact. Oh, you know, I like that ring. Going closer to look. And I know it's scary. And I know this is like some like things which you are like, I can never do these things. And the only thing that I can tell you is you just need to start small. Like you just need to do the first step because the first step is like the hardest in the whole thing. Like whoa, like if you can't do the first step, right, the rest of the steps are like pretty difficult. But when you get started, like when you just start right with like some form of like physical escalation, like a office bump or like a handshake, even it can result in like so much momentum. Because if you think about the snowball effect, how's it form? The snowball effect, right, is when a snowball just cascades down a mountain and it just collects snow after snow after snow. And it's so important because when you get started right with physical escalation, it becomes significantly easier and so powerful. And don't just like awkwardly just jump a few steps, okay? Like I've said this and I think it's so important because there'll be guys, right, who like watch this video and they'll be thinking like, okay, you know, I gotta go with like the heart right away. Like, no. Listen to me, right? Start off with like the foundations, like just go with a handshake, go with like a fist bump, or go with like a cup. Handshake's the easiest because cup and fist bump are more like ballsy, in my opinion. But I like to do fist bump, so that's for that. And again, you want her to be attracted to you, so therefore you need more physical escalation. And you observe in the interaction, right, that the physical contact was only initiated at the end of the interaction, which, I mean, it's alright because there's still some physical contact, but ideally, right, you want it to be as early as possible. Best thing you know, right, is you get their name. Like, did we do this, okay? Yeah. You start speaking to her and stuff, and you just ask her for her name. She replies with a name, right? Oh, this is killer, by the way. She replies with a name, right? If her name is some like wacky ass name, right? Like I've never heard before, okay? Like maybe it can be like Gradioso or like I don't know, bro. Like, it's some like phenomenal name I've never heard before, right? Use this like, wow, that's such an interesting name. Like how do you come up with that name? Like that's some like phenomenal ass like name classing from your dad and mom. Because they've probably not heard of that before. Like, you want to stand out as difference, right? That's so important. And again, even though he initiated like physical contact at the end of the interaction, it's alright, but the girl was like, yeah, it's kind of alright. But again, you want to have it as early on interaction as possible to initiate like actual interest and actual confidence. Because initially, right, in the initial stages, she does not know who you are, so you need to initiate and show that you have confidence. The fifth thing that I wanted to speak about, which could be improved from this interaction, is the distance, like the physical distance between the guy and the girl. You see here, right, that the distance is more than 3 feet. And I'll tell you why this is a problem. Because if the distance is too far away, it results in this barrier, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, imagine the dude, right, who just like sits in the class and he just sits in the corner, which might even be you. He sits in the corner with his like hoodie up and like he's isolated by the rest. Like, do you really think like people will kind of trust him more? Like, not so much, right? Obviously, I'm not trying to diss that dude, but you get what I'm saying? Because it's so important, right? That when you are in interaction and speaking to someone, right, you need to be at the social space. And what's the social space? 3 feet. Why so? Because if you're in the social space, it shows that you have walls. Like, imagine, right, if two people were like here and they were speaking like this, won't they feel more intimate and more connected as opposed to speaking like this? Right? Because if you speak like this, it sounds like, and it just feels very weird. Right? Like, you know that one guy will try and speak to you from like all the way, like from the other side. Like, you'll be thinking like, oh, what is bro up to? And that's so important. Because if you understand this, right, and you need to know, right, that during physical interactions, right, you need to literally go closer to the goal. Because that's the only way you can break a touch barrier. Because if you don't go closer to the goal, you can't really break the touch barrier, and you can't really get so close to her. And your seduction wouldn't be that good, right? Like, even like the best seducers, right, if they stand like so far away from a girl, I don't really see how they can seduce a girl. You need to stand at like an appropriate distance, and then you see the girl, and like you make good eye contact, you smile, you chat her up, you wrist her a bit, and then that's how you get a good conversation because you're at the appropriate distance, right? And obviously, don't just go in with like 1 feet right away. Like I was seeing guys, right, who I've done this personally before, where I go into the interaction like I don't like when I say this. I was in the train, right, and I saw this like cute girl, and this is what I did. So this was her, right? Like she was right here, and there was like a seat next to her which empty. Okay, I went up, I sat to the seat, I started speaking to her, and I guarantee, right, she was taken aback. You know why? Because it's too close. Like our shoulders were almost touching. Like if this was my shoulder, right, the hers was like right here. Like it was just too close, and because it was too close, she felt slightly uncomfortable because I've not progressively overloaded this. Because the way you should do this, right, is you should, especially speaking to a girl, you should do this. You start off with like a good distance around 3 feet. And as you go in, right, in interaction, you kind of test whether the girl is like receptive or what. You go move a bit closer. Obviously, don't be like, oh, one step forward, and you freaking like do some like whack ass dance something. No, you don't. You just go in, right, and you subtly go like 1 cm forward. And I know, right? It sounds like, no shit, don't count like 1 cm, but like move a bit forward and see her reaction. And you want to be slowly moving forward after every single, like, perhaps a few seconds, because you want to gauge whether it's good. And if you see that she's like kind of uncomfortable, step back. Because that's how you escalate and calibrate. This is something that I'll go into like another video, because this is very important, and I find it's very difficult to just understand from a lot of YouTube videos. So I'll make a whole other video about how to escalate, how to calibrate. But anyways, right, to give you the base of what calibration is, calibrating, right, is when you see something, right, and you react to it immediately, real time. It's like a skill that you have to build up. Like for example, right, you see her, right, and her face kind of like droops down a bit. Okay, calibrate, don't say that. Try this, try that. Or for example, you initiate physical contact, you see she's not receptive. Pull back. Because it's like this pulling back dynamic, right? And you kind of test the waters and see what's good, what's up. Obviously, you know what I mean? Like, show respect to the girl, obviously. I think that's super important. That you become the guy, right, which she kind of respects because you know when to pull back. Like, whenever you did something wrong, right, she most probably won't say it out loud, but you kind of know. Then you see a reaction, okay? Like, for example, you do something, eye contact, look away, okay, don't say that, okay, pull back. She likes something, great, move forward, one step forward. And that's how it should go. Like, interaction should be like this. In every interaction, right, your calibration must be like super great. And again, I'll go through it in the whole other video because I think there's just too much to go into how to actually calibrate it to like the girl's reaction. So yeah, but that's all for calibration for this part of the video. The seventh thing which he could improve on from the interaction is that he's kind of stuttering. And obviously, you know, I'm not trying to insult the guy, but you see how here, right, when someone stutters and says like you see, you don't really respect the person, right? Like you see in this video, right? I have not said a single lali I haven't, because it's important, because it shows that I'm competent at speaking, and girls want to be with an individual who is good at speaking, right? Like imagine if you went with like, you wanted to say she's cute, right? But you say it in this way, hey, you know, I think like you are kind of cute, yeah. Like even the best Rizzler will fail, bro. But instead, right, I guarantee this. Instead, if you say it like this, she'll feel so much more attracted towards you. Like this. Hey, excuse me. I was just walking here. I saw you. Thought you looked pretty cute. Wanted to say what's up. You see how here is just more seductive? Because I said it in one simple flow. And the way to do this, right, and to not stutter in interactions is pretty simple in my opinion. Because people overcomplicate things and say that you gotta do this, you gotta do this, and gotta do this. This is what I say. You need, right, to view yourself as higher status in her and the interaction. Because the only reason why most people stutter, in my opinion, right, in terms of interactions, is because they don't really have confidence in themselves. Right? Because if you're kind of high status, the way you speak is gonna be better. Right? Like if you're not high status, you're gonna be umming and ahming all over the place. And obviously, the best thing you could do to actually solve your ums and ums is to record on the camera every single day. Like what I'm doing right now. You record on the camera every single day. You see what you could improve on. Right? Like I first started this journey, right, with cold sweat air conditioned rooms. No one believing in me, betrayed from mobile friend groups and all this shit. And I couldn't even look a single individual in the eye without stuttering. Just like umming and ahming all over the place. And therefore, speaking to a camera is the cure because it's the hardest thing in the whole entire world. Because in a interaction, normally there's another individual which can give you more input. But in terms of like speaking to a camera, like you're the freaking man. Yeah, you're the guy, right, giving all of the input. Therefore, it must be like so undeniably good, bro. Because if like if you're not good, right, you can't really do any sort of result. Right? Like I could teach you like all of the tactics, right? But if you can't really speak, you can't really implement it. I could teach you like the best flirting tactics, the best lines to say, like the best escalation, the best collaboration. But if you can't really speak without umming and ahming, right, it's not really gonna add much. I'll give another example. It's like the fat guy, right? Like no offense to the fat guy, but it's like the fat guy he goes to the gym, right? And he thinks that the most important thing is that he needs to just maximize like I gotta do this workout, I gotta do this form in this way and this. And sure, yeah, I agree that's important, but that's not the 80-20 of things. The 80-20, right, which is the 20% that you should focus on to achieve 80% of the results, is learn how to speak. Because if you can speak, people respect you more. If people respect you more, they want to speak to you more. If you want to speak to you more, it shows that you're more confident. And girls like confidence. One more great hack in order to be able to speak well is to have pause when you speak. Now you see how here I'm not like rambling throughout the whole last session. There's like pauses in between. And this is important. Because when you can speak without pausing, when you can speak with a pause, be very deliberate in having like this momentum and speak slower. Like I mean genuinely, like you need to imagine yourself, right, as, I know this sounds pretty weird, but as the super calm monk, right, who just like goes into direction and has no thoughts within his brain and is so zen within the moment. I find it so powerful, bro. Like I'm pretty zen right now. Like I had to read like a book and shit and like had to like calm myself down. But see here I'm pretty zen and I'm pretty comfortable on camera. And because I'm comfortable on camera and I can actually speak, I will be good in real interactions. Because trust me, like girls, they'll subtly pick up on this. They won't say it, right? But if you keep saying like, they're gonna pick it up. And they're gonna infer, right, that this guy is not very proficient in speaking. I'm not saying like you need to be this guy with just like 10,000 words in your like dictionary or something. But you need to have an adequate level of speaking. Like you need to be able to speak without stuttering. Yeah, you need to be able to speak with like just great foundations. By having a good vibe, a good pitch, and all of the stuff which I'll cover in future videos. But again, it's just knowing how to speak, and that's incredibly powerful. Because the problem is, right, that most people they they kind of learn about like all the social cues, you know, I gotta put my hands like this, you know, to get like 5% more dominance, yeah, and they do like some like weird shit, you know. But the truth of the matter is, right, that you don't need to focus on all these complicated things. Like the truth of the matter is, you just need to focus on what's the most important thing. Right? Like for example, like what's the most important thing when you go to the gym in all the pack mass? It's hitting the gym every single day, it's eating clean, it's having a good sleep schedule, improving every single workout, and doing cardio. And that's most of it. It isn't like, oh, you know, I gotta set like the shower to like this temperature, yeah. I gotta like, you know, have my protein like immediately after this, yeah. Like those are nice, sure, and those can add on to it, but it just adds on like a teeny amount. Like you want the things which can impact your social life and actually help you get goals in a non-degenerate way. And that's how you do it. You get good at speaking. Very powerful. Alright, the seventh thing which the man could improve on is that he could smile more. Right? Because if you see the interaction, right, with just this girl, there's not really much of a smile. And I'm not saying you like you need to be like Mr. Smiley when you're like, you give like some sort of like gay smile, bro, that like looks like you bro, it looks like you like a kid, no dog, right? A dog, he like could shit anywhere he wants, and he's like, yeah. What the shit? But you gotta smile like a genuine way. Like you can tell here I'm smiling, but I'm not smiling in like I'm smiling in like a genuine manner, and a smile is so seductive because it shows that you're open and it shows that you're friendly within the interactions. Because and most people, right, like you see them and they probably don't know this, but a smile is so important because it indicates warmth and friendliness. And I know you've heard of like the power of smiling and why it's so important and stuff. But a smile, it literally expands your life. I actually believe this because when you keep smiling more, you become happier. I'm probably wondering, like, okay, great, you know, I know that a smile is important, but how do I actually force out a smile? To force out a smile, right, it's pretty simple. You can either do it in two ways. Just think about happy thoughts within your brain. Like think about like, wow, you know, last time, you know, I got this for my birthday. Yeah, you know, yes, man, yeah. Or think about like some cool achievement. Like for me, it's like if they push-ups in like 60 seconds, I'm like, yes, man, yes, yes, man, yeah. Or I can force it out. Like I'll tell you right now, man. Like when I'm recording this, right, I'm not even like super happy, but I'm forcing it out because I need to smile more. And when you force it out, it kind of is goofy. Because when you force it out, right, and you start smiling more, your brain kind of subconsciously thinks like, wow, he's being like a goofy ass. Like, okay, like let's make him smile. And that's so important. Because when you can smile more, it shows that you have more balls. Because the problem with like YouTube and like all of these media and stuff is that they always show like the guy who's like stoic, you know, like the stoic guy goes in directions like, yeah, you know, so cool. He puts like his hands in his pockets and like he has like the freaking like bad sunglasses and shit. And he has like the shaven up parts and stuff, and it's like the watch and like a supercar and stuff. But the truth of the matter is, right, that girls don't really want to speak to the kind of individuals which show like they're very closed off. Because it shows they're not very friendly. And I know in the movies they say like, bro, you gotta be like the best, you know, you gotta be like the guy who's like looking pissed off, and you gotta be the guy who's like looking like he's cool, you know, he's at the corner and shit, he's like, he's laying low, he's like laying in a stance or something. But that's not very attractive, right? Because if you think about in class, right, do you ever want to speak to that guy? Probably not, right? Like imagine if I was laid back and had like sunglasses and shit, I was like, you wouldn't want to speak to me, right? Because you don't really trust me. Even though I look pretty badass, right? You don't really trust me. That's why you go out like small ball. And that's powerful. Because again, a smile is seductive. Like I call this the seductive smile. I do this, right? Like I just thought of this. Whenever a girl walks past you, right? Like this is what I do so many times a day. Like in the streets, right? Or like in the train or whatsoever, wherever I go, right? When I'm free, right? And I see a girl walk past me, the first thing I do is like I either move my eyes, right, or just smile. I'm like, and then right, that shows that you have balls because it's very rare that they have that. And a lot of time, right, if you're attractive enough, right, or if like you are pretty good at this, right, they'll smile back. They'll be like, and that's when you can speak to them. You go up and be like, oh yeah, I like your smile, man. Yeah. Very powerful, bro. The eighth thing which the guy could improve on is that he needs to carry the conversation though. And this is very important because when you're speaking to a stranger, as explained from my previous point, right, about him giving more of his input, you need to be like this guy who is giving more of the value within. Because that's the reason why we all talk. Like again, you will not speak to a stranger, right? If I keep asking you question after question, you need to like add on and you need to take the initiative as the guy to carry the whole conversation. Because especially with a girl, right? Like this is very true. Like I know in movies and shit, they said like, you know, you gotta like ask more questions and and you gotta be interested in her and stuff. And I agree. It's still important to ask her questions. But in terms of value, right, you need to show, right, that you are the guy that she can rely on and she can trust. Because if she can't trust that you're the guy which she can rely on and trust, she won't really feel like speaking to you. Right? Like the telling of like asking questions and stuff may work with like girls which are like 4 or 5 or 10. But in terms of like talking to like 8, 9s, and 10s, it's not gonna work. Because if you keep asking them question after question, they're gonna be like, man, what's this guy up to, bro? He's like asking me like question after question after question. And I'm not gonna lie, right? It kind of pisses like people off actually when you keep like asking them question and question and question and you don't show like who you are. Because it sounds like you're doing sales. It sounds like you're asking over and over and over again. Therefore, as the man, right, you need to take the initiative in having in your brain saying this ethos, like saying like, you know what, I'm gonna provide so much value, right, that she can't say no. How so? Show that you are the man that she wants. And the way you do this, right, is through this one way. I find it so great. And I was just coaching this other guy this. You say, right, what's your purpose on this earth? And this is powerful because when you show your purpose on this earth, it indicates this sort of masculine drive within yourself. And girls, right, like they won't say this, but they like a guy who is very purposeful. They like a guy who is not focused on them and focused on his mission, on his craft. And specifically, right, if it's great things to help the whole novel. I think about it. Why am I making YouTube videos? Other businesses are easier, like dropshipping, e-commerce, SMMA, copywriting. But why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself out here to like travel like a good 1 hour from my house all the way here to just record this video? It's because I genuinely want to help you. And this is the part which is important because it's my purpose. And my purpose on this earth is to help socially anxious individuals destroy that coping social anxiety in 90 days and actually be able to speak to anyone that they want. And I tell that to every single girl I meet. And they undeniably respect me because it's very rare. And anything that's very rare is very valuable. They like a guy who's very driven. So, and obviously you don't need to have like the exact same purpose as me. But you need to have something that's true to your heart. Like, whenever you see a girl, right, and she asks you, like, what do you do? Right, as I was saying, let's say a guy who likes to go to the gym. Your purpose, right, when a girl asks you, like, okay, what do you do? And you're actually interested in, like, helping other people, like, go to the gym. You can be like this. My purpose is to help skinny individuals bulk up to live the life of their dreams. It's so powerful. It can even be like, goofy things, bro. Like if let's say you're obsessed with chess, right? I guarantee, right, they'll still respect you more because you're focusing on something. You're not just focusing on the girl. Because the problem with a lot of guys, right, is that they they don't really have anything to focus on. So all of the attention goes to the girl. But because of that, they lose their like ambition and drive. And so it's very important that you have a purpose and ethos to drive for. Because if you have something to drive for, they undeniably respect you more. And you're probably asking like, okay, that's really great, but how do I exactly find my purpose? The way to find your purpose, right, is to, I'm not lying when I say this. The way I found mine, right, was through a lot of constant introspection. And what do I mean by this? This means, right, that every single day, this is what I did. I sat with myself in silence. I journaled and I thought to myself every single day, why am I on this earth? Because as a guy, right, you must understand the reason why you're here. Because you aren't here to just like live life and, you know, yeah, it's kind of cool and stuff. But there has to be a greater meaning of why you're here. Right? Like, I believe the gods like place us here for a reason. I believe that I was here to save you the neurotic social anxiety that you have been feeling for so many years of your life. And the way you do it is through sitting in silence and doing a lot of journaling about asking yourself, why? The question why should keep like appearing within your brain. And when you find your purpose, right? And let's say you haven't found your purpose yet, and the girl asks you like, what do you do? Just say what you're passionate about because it's somehow right gonna be linked to your purpose. It's like the ikigai. Like what's ikigai? Ikigai, right, is basically like something that you love, something that helps the whole entire world, something that you're actually good at, and damn it, there's one more, but I can't remember it. But I think the last one is like, oh, something that other people need. And if you have these four things, right, you have found your like ikigai, which is like the meaning of life. And your life just becomes so much better. The ninth thing which you could improve on is to be animated. Because being animated is such an important part in all interactions. Like observe in him in this video. He's not so much animated, is he? Like it's true that, you know, he's kind of like cool and he looks like a chair and stuff, but he's not moving his hands around. He needs more hand gestures. And the ideology which I always like to think about this is to think like a cartoon character. Because if you can think like a cartoon character, right, you become this individual which is like, oh wow, you know, I'm gonna be so damn animated, man. Like, yes, man, yes. And that's very powerful. Because if you can become this individual which is like a cartoon character, right, you become the guy which is like, you know, wow, I am the shit, man. Yes, man. Yes. And this is so incredibly important because if you can become the individual, right, which is like a cartoon character, always deciding to like, you know, I'm gonna spread those vibes, I'm gonna do this, yes, man, I'm gonna be as animated as possible. You become very engaging in the conversations. And when you become engaging within the conversations, people actually respect you and they want to listen to you. And the reason why you need to be animated is because a lot of people are not animated. Therefore, if you can be animated within the interaction, right, it shows that you have balls, it shows that you're interesting, it shows that you're actually a charismatic individual. Because there's a reason why you're glued to your phone as you were kids, right? Like you were like watching the same cartoons like over and over and over again. It's because they were so action-packed, like animated, bro. And that's why you watch them for so many hours a day. Super powerful, man. So the way to be animated, right, is just think like a cartoon character. Move your hands around, like move your whole body around, bro. You need to have that like childlike wonder to yourself. In order to actually succeed in this, right, you need childlike wonder. And because you have childlike wonder, people actually respect you more. Because it's very rare that you think like a kid. And I'm not saying to be like childish and stuff, but you need to have like a different vibe. Like this wonder to learn, to experience, to be interesting, to be this was reflective. And that's so important. That is so powerful, my guy. The 10th thing we should improve on is that the conversation is boring. The truth of the matter is, right, that you need to be actually interesting to all to speak. And you see how here the conversation is like, he's asking her questions and stuff, and it's kind of nice, but like, there's not much spice to it. And you're probably asking like, okay, great, but how do I add spice to an interaction? Just say the most random thing that comes to your mind. You'll be surprised at how I speak to my friends. I come up with like the most random things to say. And it works. And people always ask me like, how are you so good at coming up with random things to say? It's because of my protocol. Because I spoke to a camera before I left the house. I have rap music. And that's powerful. Because when you speak to a camera, right, for like 1 to 10 minutes before you leave the house, it enables you, right, to be so good at improvisation. To bounce ideas off like each other. Like you'll be surprised. I could give you like the most random shit. Look at this. I'm not even looking at like any shit right now. I'm still gonna be like yapping and yapping and yapping. It's because I'm good at improvisation. And that's powerful, bro. I'll give you the weirdest example right now. Like this. I bet, right, I could do improv with this. Like, you're probably thinking, like, how's that even possible? Sure, I know. Right, I have a bottle and stuff. And yeah, this bottle is kind of cool because I basically lost my old bottle. Like, it's dumb. Like, I lost my old bottle. I bought the exact same one. But this was, like, different because I got this, right, at, like, a different retailer. So there was, like, different, like, words and shit. And it kind of looked ass. Because the last few times I came here, right, and I was drinking, like, this bottle. And it was kind of cool and stuff. That's some nice water, bro. See? Like, I hope you can see, right, that you need to be good at improv to make it interesting. Because if I wasn't really speaking in a extremely interesting manner, right, you won't really feel like listening to what I'm saying. And you'll be thinking like, okay, yeah, that's kind of cool and stuff, but I don't really know what you're saying. And that's why it's important. And that's why it's powerful. Because when you can become the individual, just like, you know what, like, I know what I'm gonna say, I'm gonna be the best I can ever be. That's immensely powerful, bro. And you just need to think, right, how you can add as much life to your character as possible. Because in the interaction, right, I think it's so important to want to show the best side of you and the most lively side of you. Because people deserve 100%. I'll tell you honestly, I am tired as shit, right? Like, I have like a sales call in like a good 20 minutes, like a good hour. And I have like a call with like my mentor in like 1 hour, 30 minutes. And even though I'm tired and stuff, but I'm still doing this. I'm still trying to show life. Because it's important. Because it's what I could give to you. And because I do that, you like me more, right? Another thing which he could have done better is have more open body language. Because if you see here in this video, right, it's true that he is a chair. He looks pretty jacked. But in terms of his body language, it's super closed. And the problem with very close like body language is that you end up looking very stern. And especially when you look very stern, right, they won't be feel like speaking. Because who they want to speak to? They want to speak a guy who is friendly. And that's important. They're probably asking like, okay, that's kind of like nice as shit. But like, how do you get good body language? I'm not lying, right? Just move your body how you want. Like, you can tell, right, I'm not even caring about how my body is moving. It's because I've open body language. And because I've open body language, I seem more interesting. And because I seem more interesting, people like me more. And that's super powerful. Because if you master the art of having good body language and having like this vibe around you, which says like, you know what, I'm so open, you know, I'm so friendly, I'm the best version of myself, people will undeniably, right, just like you more. Like, it's proven, bro. Next thing which is super important, the last thing about this video is that he shows some form of unconfidence. I think that's a word. Because you see here, right, he's kind of scratching his head and he's kind of like scratching his face. And imagine if I was like doing this in front of the video, you will be thinking like, okay, you know, I don't really kind of trust this guy because he's kind of scratching his face. Because you demonstrate the version of yourself as such a confident that you don't scratch your face. Because like, this is true, by the way. Like, if you see any anxious individual, right, they're always scratching their face, touching like at all the parts of their body and shit. Like, no, not in a way, like a weird way, but like they're doing that. And the way to overcome it, again, I think it's so important to be open. As what I said in the previous point, have open body language. Because when you have open body language, right, you indicate confidence. And the way to get confidence, again, is true what I've said. It's true like being on this path is always striving for more, it's always being the best version of yourself. And that is powerful. And yeah, bro, this is the whole entire end of the video, which I got. I'm not bullshitting, like, I got you the whole entire method of like this one interaction. I'll see you in the next video, bro. Hope you found value, man.